It's 9 p.m. I hope you are well. It's Sunday night, the night before New Year's Eve. In Africa, the temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. 25 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit.
25 degrees Celsius is equal to 77 degrees Fahrenheit.
And I have a brand new option. I don't know if it's going to work. I have sent the link to, you can't just laying down for rest. Oh, I lost you there. This is brand new to me. I'm working on my cell phone. Look at my nails. I was painting there. A rock. And forgive me, last night I was totally triggered. And yes, I did drink too much. And I said too much horrible things. There's too many horrible things. And then I also understand, after watching this other horrible thing today about this gay couple that adopted two young boys and then rented them out to other men. They got 100 years in jail. It's the biggest thing on YouTube streets now. You can find out about it. I'm sure you'll see it. It's quite disgusting. And yes, if they go to jail, they must already be killed in jail, or they'll go to a special jail where pedophiles go. You never know how jails treat you. They're like these people, it seems. They like to have prisoners because prisoners make you money. Prisons make money. We all know these truths. And so far be it for me to tell you not to want to kill these sick people. Absolutely sick people. I'm going to smoke a cigarette, but not in front of you. Anyway, and now I'm going to change the subject. So I just don't believe in harming your life by killing somebody. Whatever they've done wrong, report it to the police, let the police sort it out. And then let the prisons sort them out. Everybody deserves their day in jail. Oh, and I've got an itchy nose and an itchy eye. I hope you're well. I'm well. Thank you very much for asking. This won't be a very long live. I did send out other notices to, well, hello to you, to a few other ladies. Maybe they could be able to join me. I'm not sure. But let's do a search here for, you see, this is mainly for Mississippi Talker. And let me talk, she's not here, I'm going to say. We'll start off with this because, and that's why I called it the Lavender Mafia. I was talking about the Johannism. As you know, it is Sunday today. Wherever you are in the world, I'm sure maybe it's Monday in Australia already. No, not Lavender Monday. Look at the Pope. As I spoke about the Pope, well, not the Pope, I spoke about John the Baptist, who was said to come up out of the sea with clam shells stuck to him and his head in his hands because he was beheaded. Pope's speech at the prison door opening. He was fucking opening doors everywhere, darling. But his outfit was fascinating to me. He was wearing the shells, you see, and that's Catholicism. It stole Christianity from
Pope Francis reached Ravinia prison to open the second Jubilee Holy Door for the Holy Father.
From what am I saying now? Where do you want to see this? Now look at the shells. Go well, go shell. He's opening the holy door at the prison in Rome. Now, what the Catholics did is they are true prostitutes. I'm sorry, the church, not the people in the church, but the ancient Catholics, the old original Catholics. They did what they had to convert the peoples. I was watching these people in South America, and eventually there was this epiphany. Some virgin saw Jesus Christ in the sky with a baby, or no, saw the Mother Mary, and there's not even a crucifix in that Catholic Church in South America. There's just this picture, the famous picture of the Mother Mary in a sort of vagina, the vesica piscis, the fish vagina shape. Now, Johannism is all about, you see, what the Catholic Church does is they joined in these other different religions. They make it work for them in your different region. They're very regionalized, and there's very different sects in Catholicism itself. But the famous meeting that Pope Paul, I think the first Paul, hi Jane, I miss Team Rose. Is she here? Hi, Team Rose, are you here? I didn't send a link to Team Rose because she never opens her Rose Director message. So, and then, and now, and sometimes, and in between time, and in the meanwhile, there's Jesus on the cross. That's the difference between Protestants and Catholics is with Protestants you don't see Jesus on the cross. So when it was Pope Paul and there was Saint Nicholas. It was this Cardinal Nicholas in Germany who became a saint. They all met in Russia or Moscow somewhere, all the heads of the states of Rome, and they all went their own different directions. And that's why you have Saint Nicholas, and that's why you have the Catholic Church from Saint Paul, even though the Christian Church was started by Peter, and it's called Saint Peter's Basilica. Good man, Jeffrey, howdy doody. Jane, I am Team Rose Girl. She makes me laugh contagiously. When she's, well, yes, she can do. She really, really, really can do that to you and me. I thank you very much for joining me. So Mississippi Talker asked me, she wants to talk more about the Johannism. And Johannism was a different sect that was taken in to the Catholic Church. Were Catholics that worship the snake. There's a snake on the cross in southern Italy. You know, in the original Catholic Church, Rome, the Vatican, it was only Rome. The south of Italy they were not Catholics or Roman Catholics. The Greeks went their own way. The Russians went their own way. And who was the first Essenes? And that's MJD. MJD she's Armenian. Armenian is the oldest of the Christian churches, and that's their own religion. So I'm going to eat a chocolate. Should I eat a chocolate? I don't know. Why were there so many people watching me? Thank you for your likes, your thumbs up, and your shares, because I know you really care. But now, this is interesting to me. You want to watch this? Let's turn this way.
When you were how old?
Oh, God, when I was like 13.
When you were 13.
Yeah,
so
no.
you were religious when you were a child.
Oh, yes, I was born again. Love Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, yeah. I used to teach in mission. Are you kidding me? I used to cook people. I used to have mostly drunks. And I don't know, we were like a place for them to go and to sober up. But they had to listen to my crap. Oh, excuse me. They had to listen to my sermon in order to get that meal. Because that's how we spread, brother. Do you understand? I converted souls into mission.
You converted souls to Christianity when you were 13?
No, I started doing that when I was like 17.
When you were 17?
Yeah. I was teaching Sunday school class too because their Sunday school teachers sucked.
Really?
Yeah.
How does a 17-year-old get to start teaching Sunday school? Did your parents get you into this stuff?
Oh, of course, yeah. Through the family and through some very intelligent teachers like Dr. J. Vernon McGee. Oh, God. Beloved Dallas theologian. You know what I mean? Dallas Theological Seminary. I went there for 3 months and their Greek program was so bad. I went to the president of the university. I said, hey, it's not up to snuff. His name was John Walford. And I said, your program isn't up to snuff. Your Greek program is terrible, right? So I went on to university to get a PhD
So going back to the early childhood stuff.
Yeah.
When you were in your teens, you said you were teaching Sunday school.
Yeah.
What particularly were you teaching, and was there some point in your life that led you to question the teachings of the Bible and the teachings of the church and everything you knew when you were young?
I got there through Aristotle. So here's what happened. I saw how bad the standards were on the Christian side for ancient Greek. And I said, I've got to follow a track to be able to get there. And it went through the sciences. And I think what happened was when I was 21, I just cracked. I was reading Aristotle and the pure, unadulterated glory of his reason.
And you're talking about Greek? You're reading Greek?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So how did you learn Greek at 21?
Because I went to a special high school, first of all.
Okay.
Shout out to the people from Special Projects.
Special Projects?
That was his first name. Everybody, you had to test to get into it, right? Everybody that I was around is somehow involved in, military, government, stuff like that. We won the chess championship 2 years.
Okay, so going back to your college, you're studying Greek, and then you said, what point did you go to Israel, and why did you go to Israel?
Yeah, right after my bachelor's, I went to Israel and stayed there for a year. Yeah. What is the Christ?
What is the Antichrist?
What is the Christ, if you have to know the Antichrist, you have to know the Christ.
Right.
It's a Greek word.
Lizzo is blocked. How are you doing, Lizzo? Good to see you. Well, I don't see you. I hear that you're there. Glad that you're keeping us company. I don't know how to unblock.
Yes, it's from the verb chrio, to be stung by the gadfly.
Huh.
Who's the gadfly?
Literally.
Who's the gadfly?
Yeah, I don't know. Socrates said he was. It's a thing they had going on. Remember, they had orgies and stuff like that, so you better buckle up, right?
But what does that have to do with the gadfly? I mean, you think...
Oh, no, oistrous, to be stung. It's a state of mania. They call it in Greek, oistromania.
Okay.
Being an altered state.
Right. Okay, anyways, let's go back to, you're in Israel, right? And you're doing this excavation, you're finding all this stuff. These crazy people come up to you telling you that you're protected by a troop of demons.
Yeah.
How long did you stay there? And then what did you do after that?
A year, a month.
Okay.
And then I decided, okay, I've maxed out what's my interest here. And came back and enrolled in another program, which ended up, master's program, ended up sending me to a lab where I cut brains.
Cut brains?
Yeah.
Okay. What were you cutting brains for?
To identify peptides.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. On the science.
This is your study in bacteriology?
No, it hadn't gone to the bacteria, but it's what led to the bacteria. I wanted to
Thanks, Fancy Tramp. Good to see you too.
Okay.
Education. So I did a lot of
neuropeptides. What's a neuropeptide?
Yeah, it's a peptide that is active in the brain as part of a signaling system. So we talk about communication between the hypothalamus and the pituitary and how puberty is regulated. That was a big one. We were looking for the peptide that brings on premature puberty.
Do you hear that?
That's those are souls swirling around outside.
Dude, that's loud.
Yeah.
Is that rain?
Yeah. Rain or wind blowing the rain.
God. So at what point in your life did you start writing this infamous dissertation that got suppressed by the heads of the department in classics when you started writing about the use of drugs in antiquity?
That's perfect. From that exact point.
Okay.
I picked up Professor Romer came to me.
Professor Romer.
Yeah.
Frank University of Wisconsin?
Yeah, at the time, he was at University of Wisconsin. I think he went out somewhere in California. But Frank Romer, and he said, hey, I know you're, when I was on the science side, he said, I already had him in classics, right? So he knew what my interests were. He said, here, we have a whole bunch of documents that nobody's ever translated from Greek. Have at it. It was like the greatest.
Where do you find those documents?
Everywhere they've been for the last 2,000 years.
Where?
Just sitting there.
Where, on his desk?
In libraries.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nobody reads them. Classicists don't do it. You know why?
Why?
Because they're hard.
They're hard.
Because these Greeks are smart. They're smart. And these how many classicists do you think know pharmacology? Yeah.
I have no idea. Probably not many.
Zero. Yeah. They don't do the medical stuff. It's a shame. So
that's just like any field, right? A lot of people who are experts in certain fields or certain disciplines, they don't have a wide variety of skills or disciplines as well. They're typically just in one lane. You got to talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or you got to be a jack of all trades.
Interdisciplinary.
Yeah. That's a good word.
Love that. You keep one foot on either side of the fence. You know what I mean?
It's a trip. This guy's a trip.
So I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison to work with the country's best medical historian.
And then, what's his name again?
John Scarborough.
John Scarborough.
Yeah, and he had a knowledge of the medical side as well.
Okay.
But he was also a great Byzantine. He did a ton of the Byzantine sources. He was one of the translators of the Greek magical papyri. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Can you explain what the magical papyri is? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by. For people, also, just to give some more context to people who are listening, who is Galen? Can you explain who Galen was?
Yeah, Galen is a 2nd century physician he works for Marcus Aurelius the Emperor, and he's probably one of the greatest intellects of Western civilization. Definitely. He wrote thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, and probably 10% of it has been translated, if 10%. Wow. And nobody goes near the pharmaceutical stuff. Now,
so we're talking about the Lavender Mafia. I only heard about this term this week watching YouTube, and it is a strange thing. There is lots of homosexuality going on with priests in the Catholic Church. It's obvious. There's evidence. There's photographs, not with children, but there's what they call grinder parties. And if you at all ever want to decide to go against the Lavender Mafia, well, they'll just automatically unalive you or disappear you. Well, you'll be minced meat, or I suppose given an acid bath. Or the oldest trick in the book to assassinate someone is they call it noose on a bun. So basically poison, and you poison the person to death. We've all heard about these ways that you can. That's the dark sides of all religions have, actually. Now with the Protestants who believe that Jesus, they believe in the resurrected Christ more. There's no Jesus on the cross. And they don't worship Jesus' physical body on the cross. No, they preach the resurrected. But when King Henry VIII, I had 7 wives before, Henry the Eighth I am, Henry the Eighth I am, I had 7 wives before, and each one I killed or something like that, I can't remember it. Anyway, he broke away from the Catholic Church because he didn't want to pay the taxes, because the taxes were you have to stay married to your wife. And the still in Ireland, when I got to Ireland, it had just been allowed where you could get divorced by the government, because the government was very strict Catholic laws. You're not allowed to get divorced. If you do, it takes 7 years for separation, and then you still the wife gets excommunicated from the church, or the divorcer or divorcee. I'm not too clued up on that. But with the Protestant church, their dark side is dun 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 dun. The Freemasons, modern day Freemasons, are formed, and the head of the Freemasonry is royal, a royal king, a duke or a king. I think he's a king. I think Charles III is the head of the lodge. Yes, many lodges, every lodge. And they basically built the modern Western world, like Washington, D.C., and so on and so forth. The Catholics also they built everywhere a church. The Protestants, I don't know. The Germans, they built a barn. But anyway, let's get back to the Lavender Mafia. The Lavender Mafia will off you in the Vatican. It's heard of. Let's Google it. Shall we quickly? Yes, we shall, sir. I hope you are well, all of you. Good to see you all. Lavender Mafia. Vatican. Definition. Wikipedia. Lovely. The fake gay activist group. Lavender Hill Mob, gay activist group. Right. You want to read this together with me? The Lavender Hill Mob was the militant gay rights activist group operating in the United States in the 1980s in response to the treatment of the AIDS pandemic. No. Not that one. No. It just disappeared. Vatican. The American Conservative. Catholic Culture. Commentary. What Lavender Mafia? Of course they'll say. Beware, these 3 lavender mafias outside the church. What we know and what the questions they raise, the American magazine. Let's go there. Oh, sorry about that. Let's do it like that rather. No, it's not working. This is new. All new to me. Sorry. Do you see this is a plug socket from South Africa. How different we are. And I knew, according to Lini, welcome. America, welcome, Mission, and welcome, Dot. Good to see you all. This is a plug socket for, so you plug, because the natural one in the wall is 3. You have to have 3, and generally this is also copper or fake copper, because this is the earth. We have to have earth leakage in our. So, did you really go there? I didn't even read anything. There we go. What's happening now? Why is this so far behind? Been talking too much. Hi, Mission. Hi, Dot. Good to see you all. Vamos gila gila. Hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. Bit fresh here. Is it cold there in America, Kaka? It's 25 degrees Celsius, and I said in the beginning of things. 77 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, and it's 9:25 p.m. It's grey for me up here in the morning, and it's grey, and home nights grey. Sorry, Jeffrey, where is Barty? Canada, da, just months of greyness. Yes, I wouldn't even mind if they were 50 shades of it, but no, just grey. Poor Jeff. Fancy tramp, you too. Shame. In the northern hemisphere, unfortunately, the sunny land of British Columbia. Dot says, Jeffrey, yeah, same here, and it's only just beginning. Tell me something, is Bill Gates from Canada or from America? I mean, USA. What's the difference? There's Donald Trump wants to join Canada with the same currency. Jeffrey, oh, we were here. No, you were live where it's hot ice cream that melted before you get home. Eggs are boiled before you get home. It's that hot there, I'm sure. Are you having lots of rains? We also, I mean, I nearly had a shit show here, flooded my room, but it didn't. I wasn't around, so at least it's good for that. That was the whole. They came on Christmas Day to clean our drain. How brilliant is that? That's a modern African city for you. Indeed, chocolate turns to soup. Yeah, you can't buy chocolate now. Leanie, the wonderful Leanie. Congratulations today on Leanie's, what do you call it? 21st year anniversary to her husband. Congratulations to Leanie. Everyone can give a congratulations to Leanie. Did you have a good day today driving? I watched half of it. Okay, and I caught up. This is the Lavender Mafia. Late Saturday night, an 11-page letter attributed to Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano was published in the National Catholic Register, LifeSite News, and a number of other sites that report about the church. In it, the former Vatican ambassador to the United States under Pope Benedict the 116th and Pope Francis makes a number of allegations about the Vatican and US cardinals, as well as Pope Francis and previous popes handled allegations of sexual misconduct against former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. He also calls on Pope Francis to resign. On Sunday morning, Archbishop Vigano confirmed the authenticity of the letter, but he told the Washington Post he would not comment further. How old is this? This is 2018, 26th of August. Asked about the letter during his press conference while returning to Rome from Ireland, Pope Francis confirmed that he had read it but refused to respond to it in detail, telling the journalists on the plane, read the statement carefully and make your own judgment. I will not say a single word on this. He also said they had the journalistic capacity to draw their own conclusions and that once some time has passed, he may feature further in response. What the Archbishop alleges. The letter alleges that the Vatican was made aware of the allegations of a sexual misconduct by the Archbishop McCarrick as early as 2000, 24 years ago. He was the high-ranking church officials turned a blind eye to his reports that then Cardinal McCarrick should be removed from the ministry until 2009 and 2010, when he alleges Pope Benedit XVI sanctioned the cardinal, who by then had retired, the Archbishop of Washington, D.C. He alleges that Pope Francis lifted those sanctions in 2013, despite him verbally informing Francis about then Cardinal McCarrick's dossier and Benedict's restrictions of his ministry. Bishop's vagina. 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 Okay, maybe I only want to go that one. Also says the Cardinal Donald O'Veal, then Cardinal McCarrick's successor in Washington, knew about the penalties imposed on the former Cardinal McCarrick and thus charges the Cardinal Virial is lying when he says he did not know about the predecessor's alleged behavior. The letter also alleges that Archbishop McCarrick played kingmaker under Francis, responsible for the appointments of Cardinal Blase Kupich and the Archdiocese of Chicago, Cardinal Joseph Tobin of the Archdiocese of Newark, and Bishop Robert McElroy to the Diocese of San Diego. The Archbishop also devotes a number of pages to what he alleges is a homosexual network in the church, when he blames for the church's continued sexual abuse, crisis, and cover-up. Here's what he doesn't allege. In this instance, what Archbishop Vagino does not allege is nearly as important as what he does. It does not say that Pope Francis knew about the allegations that Archbishop McCarrick sexually abused a minor. That allegation is what eventually caused the Pope to remove the former cardinal from the ministry in June, after a review board at the Archdiocese of New York found the allegations to be credible and substantiated. Archbishop McCarrick resigned from the College of Cardinals in July. In this instance, the Archbishop Vagina says not alleged. Why do some people find it credible? Archbishop Vagina held an important post in the church, representing the Holy See to the United States under 2 popes. And now he would have known intimately the inner workings of the U.S. church, and he would have been in touch with the leaders of the church here and in Rome on a regular basis. It says in his letter that all his allegations can be confirmed by memos and files kept in the New York Nunciature of the Vatican's embassy in Washington. The allegations in the letter are detailed, including dates and quotes, which some have suggested indicate that Archbishop took careful notes that he used in what he called his testimony. Others note that Pope Francis handling the sexual abuse allegations of the church have been lacking, pointing to the lack of progress made by his own sexual abuse commission. The doubts he expressed towards victims of clerical sexual abuse in Chile, and the lack of the urgency on the part of the Pope to implement new procedures for holding bishops accountable. They say the charges laid out in Archbishop Vagino's letter fit this pattern. Why are others so skeptical? Some Catholics have expressed skepticism about the charges in the letter for different reasons. For one, Archbishop Vagino has checkered history when it comes to sex abuse in the church. Go figure. When Archbishop John Nienstedt, of the former head of the Archdiocese of Minneapolis, St. Paul, who was a vocal opponent of same-sex marriage, was accused of mishandling sexual abuse claims, Archbishop Vajana, who was then the Pope representative of the United States, used his office to quash an inquiry into the allegations once investigators discovered charges of sexual misconduct against Archbishop Nienstedt, who evidently resigned. Others say that one of the central claims of the letter that Pope Benedict placed sanctions on Cardinal McCarrick, which were kept secret, that were later lifted by Pope Francis, does not hold up. According to Archbishop Vigano, who says he learned about them from the Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re. The sanctions were placed in 2009 or 2010. Initial reporting in the National Catholic Register said that the retired Pope remembers ordering the sanctions, but not of their exact nature. But Cardinal McCarrick continued to keep a public profile during Benedict's pontificate. In 2010, he celebrated Mass and preached publicly, including an ordination in June and again in October at St. Patrick's Cathedral. He also testified before the US Congress. He appeared to meet the press, and he also accepted at least 2 awards. The following year, then, Cardinal McCarrick accompanied other US bishops to a meeting in January with Pope Benedict to the Vatican. During the same trip, he celebrated Mass with the Cardinal Ville and the other US bishops at the tomb of St. Peter. In April, then, Cardinal McCarrick was back in Rome, part of the delegation from the Papal Foundation to wish Pope Benedict a happy birthday. Cardinal blah, 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 blah. How long is this fucking letter? So, you see, they all cover it up. And it's said that inside that, why is this not showing me all of the, whatchamacallit? It's not updating the chat. It's not updating the chat. What's going on here? Go back. Did I pause it? No, I didn't pause it. Come back. I'm in the wrong chat. I'm in the live chat, but that's right. Let me turn it here. How you doing? So you all did say congrats. Look here. It just stopped. It just stopped. There. Well, push play. Now it's only coming. Okay, thank you. Lord have mercy. Oh, la, 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 la. Why does it have to be so difficult? Oh, yesterday was my most difficult day. I don't know. I was kicking my toes. Today was a very good day. I was cleaning. I cleaned the deck outside. My room hasn't been cleaned in a year. And I cleaned, I mopped the floor, I washed the carpet, I did all the dogs' blankets, I washed the dogs. Tomorrow is linen day. So my bed is nice and the house is nice and clean for the very new year. Where the fuck were I? Dandy. Chocolate turns to soup. Yeah, okay, that's how where we were there. Oh. I'm not drinking. I'm just drinking coffee. Do you want to see me? Cheers. Jeffrey says candles and Barry White. Or are you more of a Marvin Gaye girl, according to Leanie? Let's get it on. Woohoo, let's get it on. Native Jeffrey, 13 minutes of a good time. Slap it, flap it, hit it, rub it, eat it. Then passes me the ciggy. Well, according to doctors, I have you know, they, how can I say it? Urologists and gynecologists, they say 10 minutes is enough play for internal play. It's more than enough for internal play. And it goes for both A or V, 1 or 2, whichever number you want to have. Look, it's after, it's nearly 10 p.m. here. The last time I showed you all my cup, I broke it. And guess what? I got a new one for Christmas. I'm so happy. Where were we now? Candles, Barry White. Let's get it on. Negative Jeffrey, 30 minutes, yes. Leanie, the precision of length of time, lol. Yes, Doc. I'm very scheduled. If we can finish soon, that's a +2. You must just squirt some lube in. Lionel, is Lizzo blocked? Yes, she's blocked. I can't see Lizzo's chat, unfortunately. It's like me and Maria G and Lizzo and Katie from New Hampshire. I think there's one more. I think maybe not. Steffers. Maybe not. Catlin also. Those were the days, terrible days. There he is. Oh, good. Today was better. Oh, how about, yeah, good. I'm glad to hear you, Lucy, and you're getting through it. Me too. I'm getting through it. You know, and with regards to my live yesterday's, where I just accused everybody of everything. Well, you know, I was triggered. I was totally triggered by. It could have been a suicide. I don't know. Maybe his son killed him. Maybe some spooks gave him a heart attack. Maybe I don't know what his habits were. You know, it was like, you know, a Hollywood style. Okay, he's gone. And it's a Facebook mourn, auto mourn, everybody, because they all met him, they all knew him, and he was this interior decorator with a shop. And I hear it was his cousin. His cousin, this guy that died, I don't know how. I don't ask people how people die if they don't want to tell me, because I didn't know the person. But the cousin on Facebook said, please take that post down. His son has got his phone. And then I thought about this. I thought, okay, I'll take his phone off. I'll take his name off. So, but it already was there. And then this morning, I just deleted everything off my Facebook. Because what do I know? I was just triggered. Why am I looking at the wrong fucking camera? I'm watching me, watching you. I was so triggered. You know, these guys that have businesses, they can unalive themselves. They can overdose. They can hang themselves. They can have noose on a bone. Maybe the son killed him. You know, I don't know. You never. I don't even know how old the son is. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't like these people. They don't like me either. They want me dead. Believe me. That's why I'm here with you. It's a much better place to be. I think that the like button is not working again. Well done. I think it's well done to you. It is working. There's still a discrepancy between watching and likes. No, it's balanced to me. It is indeed. On this one it is, and that one it's not. It's strange. I don't know. All you have to do is double tap. Double tap. Double tap. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Double tap. Double tap. Weed. Only good weed, you know. Do you want me to carry on reading? I don't know. I lost the fucking. That's what she said. That's what she said. Today was better. How can we see you, or do you see me in SY? What do you mean, Jeffrey? Hmm? Has he checked his hidden list? Yes, I have. Do you want me to check it again for you? There's nobody in hidden. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Let us investigate. Settings. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. ZAR. South African Rand. Community moderation. Hmm? So this is my top crustacean wrenches. Crustacean, why did I say crabs? Crustacean shells. These are my standard ones. Can you read? Are you reading nicely? I hope so. It's 500. That's all I have to think about. But I do it so that I know it's you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I just realized I was watching Terry Joyce today. She went live again last night, American time, I think. She's doing the whole comedic thing. She's a great granny too, you know. She deserves, even though she's a lesbian granny, doesn't matter. Grannies can be lesbians. Queen Victoria, lesbian, mutual lesbians. But she did an interview, a live interview on the telephone radio station. What was it, like New Age America type of thing, radio station. Look, even Kaplan is actually a mod. Blue Scarlet, Lee Hunter, Justin Retro Movie. That's an underaged kid, I think. I think he's also on the spectrum, like me. Well, no, worse than me. Yeah. They're all still there. Wow. This should be called my tribe. Yep. And look, can you read there? Add hidden approved user. No, no, no. Oh, look at this. Look, I blocked myself. Both Max Smiths, the wrong lead car, Deborah director, Rose O'Rose, Linda, Ogori, Toshi. I mean, what is Toshi doing there and up there? Because it's the wrong Toshi. That's the old Toshi. This was Team Rose. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Look how many Lord Dandies. There's 3 Lord Dandies. I must take the lion and the flower off. Look, there's a Lolsey. She's even blocked. But this is not the same blocked as blocked on YouTube. Lizzo and Maria G, we are both. I blocked her when I was not a mod, or I removed her from my channel. So I just can't see her. But you guys can see her. That's all I'm saying. I can't see her. That took me a long time. Oh, good. Today was better. How can we see you, or do you see? More than enough. That's right. Who are we trying to impress? It's just your deed and move along. Don't worry about Maria. No, that I don't worry about at all. But funny enough, in StreamYard, I don't see Maria either. But in Stream, if I went into her chat when she was streaming once, and she saw me, and she put my comment up on the StreamYard, that I knew I wasn't blocked from her. So maybe she was using a different email. Because you can do that you can use 4 different emails on StreamYard. I think the like button. No. Yes, Justin is a young and definitely on the spectrum. You know him. Okay, good. Yeah. Becky Toshi was blocked. Fake Toshi. Yes, sorry. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. In it. Fake. Fakey. Yeah. That might be one that came in with Lolsey's avatar. No, that's why Lolsey also has a wrench. Lolsey has come up. Lolsey has come up. So for how long have I been going for? Do you want me to read the end of that, or do you want to watch the rest of that? Oopsie daisy. Go away from that quickly. This preacher believes that Jesus Christ used children as drugs. Oh, volume.
It's used to balance a poison or death bringer, they call them.
To balance a poison or death bringer. So like an antidote?
Exactly, an antidote, but they called it a galenic reaction, unrelated to the reason, Galen.
Oh, okay.
A galenic reaction, that's the reaction. That's to bring the balance of the one that can kill you with the one that can keep you alive. Bring those together. That's theriac, baby.
Wow, interesting. What's the point of that?
To die and to be born again.
Die and to be born again. Okay.
Yeah.
How much Galen have you read?
Considerable. Yeah, considerable.
How many? Give me an idea. Like how many pages?
Oh God, thousands.
Thousands.
Yeah.
And he's written how much?
22 volumes at 1,000 each, so somewhere around 22,000 pages.
And where does all this literature exist? Where is it being held?
It's held currently in a book sitting out in my.
You have all of it?
Yeah, I got it from Johns Hopkins.
Wow.
Yeah, because Professor Scarborough was in with all the book traders, right? And they were like, "Oh shit, Galen has become available."
Okay.
Can I run out and get Galen?
Yeah,
and
go grab it.
Show you.
Go grab it. He's got an original Galen book. Here he comes with the original.
1840.
This is from 1840.
Yeah, what's the date, Sam?
1827.
There you go. Look, I was not
Galen
even
Opera,
close.
Omnia, Kuhn, 1827.
Yeah, I was off a few years.
So
open it up and you'll see that it's basically, Danny, it's a medical text for physicians in in the early 1800s. Right? What are they studying? They're studying Galen. You ask me who Galen was? Guess what? He's the dude who dominated medicine from the 2nd century when he lived until that book that you're holding. Right? This is the last set.
You're talking the 2nd century BC, right?
Yeah. No, Anno Domini.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius.
BCE. No.
Yeah.
AD.
This is his physician. By the way, he says in here that Marcus Aurelius is a total dopehead.
What language is this?
Greek on the top, Latin on the bottom. And the Latin translation is garbage. Right?
Wow, man, this is wild.
Yeah. Now, what you're holding there is volume 14 of a 22-volume set from Johns Hopkins. As you can see, those back just put their mark all over it. By the way, isn't that beautiful paper?
Look at this, everybody.
That's centuries old. Centuries. Think about it. Look at that. Right? Oh, it's gorgeous. It's a work of art. It's a work of art. But
how many pages is this? 800 pages.
800 pages. Now think about it's volume 14, which is
one of 14 books.
Yeah, it's one of 22, but it is 14, And 14 is all about the pharmacology of the antidotes. And nobody looks into that stuff. And Galen says Marcus Aurelius is a total dopehead. He's on way too much.
What was he on specifically?
The theriac. It's a combination of plants and animal products that is meant to balance a cult ritual drug called Black Death.
The cult ritual drug that was called the Black Death.
Yeah. This is from Nero's library.
Theriac.
Right?
Okay.
Nero has his arch physician get this formula from the East for the theriac. The theriac is meant to balance the cup of Lady Babylon.
Okay. Let's go back to. I feel like we're starting to go down a rabbit hole where it's going to be hard for us to get out of.
Yes.
So I want to make sure we explain this story in a linear fashion so people can follow it and don't get lost. You're studying Galen, right? And you're working on your dissertation, and what happens next?
Oh, so for my dissertation, I did it on Roman pharmacy.
Okay, right.
And
Roman pharmacy.
Roman pharmacy. Nobody's written a work on Roman pharmacy, and I had already done a translation and commentary for a master's thesis. That's usually what they give to doctoral students. I had done one for a master's thesis, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. So I'm going to write a text. This is kind of a general Roman pharmacy text so that people can learn about drugs in the ancient world. And the lady told me, take out the chapter on recreational drugs, or we're not going to give you the degree. And
So you only had one chapter that was about recreational drugs.
Yeah. The rest were all medicinal.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But didn't you say that they didn't distinguish between recreational and medicinal? Is that right?
No, that's exactly right. We were distinguishing.
We do it now, but they did.
No, back then. Things that you and I would call recreational, they didn't consider recreational. They considered medicinal. Right? So curing depression is a medicinal process.
How long did you spend on this dissertation?
Oh, a couple of years. Yeah.
And then, so there was one specific moment, a date where you had to go in to, I guess, you're judging on it or get graded on it or get a feedback on it. I have no idea how this process works. You have to walk me through it.
Yeah. So you write your dissertation and you take it before you.
Hold off, Zeus.
So this is called
these texts
Greek Septuagint
that you're reading and that you're translating. Are these the original sources of religion, of Christianity and Catholicism and baptism and all this stuff? Is this like the originals?
Yeah, this is the language.
Greek drug cults.
In Greece, in Athens, we're talking the Iron Age or the Bronze Age, when they started to develop these mystery cults of Eleusis. What time was this?
Yeah, this is late Bronze Age. Late Bronze Age. And a couple of generations before the Trojan War.
Trojan War. And this is when they were experimenting with these drugs that would these psychotropic drugs like ergot and other things. What were some of the other drugs they were using back then?
They were using the ones that make you crazy. So there's several classes, and one of them are the death bringers. That's one we talked about.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Verso. Have you ever tried fasting or intermittent fasting? If so, you may be aware to your skin, less inflammation, healthier hair, lipid regulation, enhanced cognitive function.
You can do it. I know you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah, so it's a part of the fabric of pushing society toward inspiration, looking for sources of inspiration. All the earliest Greek temples are temples of the muses. So that written word connection is very, very important.
This is solar.
And bring magic. People want to know, what is magic, right?
The creation of democracy.
And classically, it's that control of logos. It's a control. And people think logos, so that's a Greek word, right? Oh, then seminarians get all excited, you know what I mean? And they don't really know it because seminarians don't read classical texts. The logos is that reason, that reckoning.
Okay.
So that's what, to me, that's what I studied so carefully. That's why classicists study ancient Greek. Yeah, they do.
Who is Solon?
Solon, he's a reformer. He's a rich reformer who basically turns and gives power back to the people. He was advised by, this guy on crack. He carried it around in the hoof of something. and it was a plant they said root that they said he ground up and snorted all the time. He advised Solon, and Solon's reforms ultimately become what you and I know as democracy. Yeah.
What is the proper definition of democracy in antiquity compared to our democracy today?
Yeah, it's the rule of the people if you want. It's the rule of the people. The demos is just the neighborhood. You know, Athens is divided up into
Demos.
Right.
Community.
You get a neighborhood speak. That's what democracy is. It's a neighborhood speak. And it's direct representation too. And they've got all sorts of reforms like, look, you cannot take any money while you are a part of the boule, part of the council. You can't take any money, and you have to have terms and everything. And I it's what inspired Jefferson.
Part of your book says that there was 300,000 people in. Well, the question is, what is how big of a gap is there between the original texts and the Bible people read today?
Okay, so these are the texts that are ultimately assembled into what you call the Bible.
Right.
Those are the same thing, right? This is
so there's only some pieces, like there's a huge load of ancient Greek texts, and only certain pieces are cherry-picked for the Bible.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. What's the common thread that's uniting all of these things together? It's the cults, man, and the operation of the cults. They're driving the literature at the time. Yeah, they've got a hostage and they're bringing it in, and you can get that from the read. All you got to do is bring up those cults and their activities. The stuff the early Christians were doing, they're collecting blood. And this is from their own insiders who are telling us this. Eustathius tells us this. And he says, oh my God, he says, look what they're doing in these ceremonies. And he goes on to describe it, and I've described it in detail. But they collect the blood.
Who is this guy?
Fetal blood.
Who's Erichthonius?
Oh, this king of this serpent king.
Can you pull up a description of him, Steve? I need Wikipedia's description to give me the truth, so I know how to keep Amen in check.
Erichthonius in Greek mythology. King Erichthonius was a legendary early ruler of ancient Athens. According to some myths, he was autochthonous.
Autochthonous.
Yeah.
Autochthonous.
Exactly. And what happens is Hephaestus comes along and he's like, wow, look at the beauty of what we've made.
He was adopted and raised by Athena.
With this virgin Athena.
Slap it,
her name is Athena.
Love it.
Okay.
In Dorian.
So how did we get? Okay, so explain to people listening how we got to Erichthonius from Solon creating democracy.
It's that line. It's the drug-using mystery that drives everything. Cicero says his life was begun again. He was reborn. What happened? He went to the great resurrection.
So these guys were taking drugs and having some great transcendental experience, right? And they were similar to people when they take crazy psychedelic trips today, right? They call it the ego death. They do ayahuasca ceremonies. This is what's happening to people back then. Is that what you're kind of describing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And it's a death to life. I think it's a death to life experience. It's a rebirth, or what they described anyway as a rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that makes sense.
Well, anybody who's done the main line will know what that is. You see, the death is the orgasm. The word orgasm means the little death. By the way, Greek came from Hebrew. Did you know that?
We were talking briefly earlier about the Dead Sea Scrolls. And you said the Dead Sea Scrolls part of them were written in Hebrew, and they were back translated from earlier Greek, right?
Yeah, no, none of them were originally written in Hebrew. They're all originally written in Greek. That's why they had complete Greek texts with them.
Greek was the first.
There was no Hebrew spoken at the time. Hebrew had become a liturgical language, right? By the 2nd century BC.
Well, why Greek?
I stood in a synagogue in Israel, 2nd century, and you know what was written? There was nothing in Hebrew. It was all Greek.
Really?
And people are, you can check me on it, right? They all are. Mm-hmm. They all have zodiacs. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's all reflected in the language. It's like a fingerprint, man. You can track this stuff. The Old Testament, if I say anything today, the Old Testament is a work of the 3rd century, and it's originally in Greek. Yeah. The name Eve, Ewa, is the shout that a Bacchanal makes.
Why is Greek the superior?
Yeah.
What is so superior about Greek compared to Hebrew or any of these other Aramaic? When did Aramaic?
Oh God, who cares?
Who cares?
I cannot think of a less relevant Look in the libraries.
Why though? Why?
In the libraries that we have from the ancient world. Okay, if you just look at
Cicero.
the libraries, remember,
Really?
look at the peaks.
So she says
What
Cicero.
libraries are you talking about?
It's always
Alexandria?
big libraries.
Names, authors'
Alexandria,
names.
right? Look at what's in those. Now we don't have anything. We do have one that just opened in Herculaneum. They just scanned it, and the first word they scanned was purple.
Oh yeah.
Porfura.
Purple was the first word.
Yes, it's one of my words that I brought to you in my little presentation.
So again,
The purple.
Wouldn't know.
Okay.
Where does Greek actually come from? It's that old Indo-European bunkum, right? That stuff's not accurate. The Greeks, like, forget modern linguistics. The Greeks, what did the Greeks themselves say in their own text? They said, we are the descendants of the Pelasgoi. These are a group of
Really fancy tramp,
marauding
wasn't it the name
Chalcolithic.
of Max?
So this is 5000
Lucius
BC.
Maximus.
5000 BC.
Horse
Called the
in
Pelasgoi, the
Gladiator.
carriers of the purple.
Have any of you seen Gladiator 2 yet? You know I don't know the answer to that. No, where did you get the name Cicero from? Did you think he was a god? No, darling, it was a horse. And that's why you named your horse Cicero.
Yeah.
This is where Greek came from.
These are the antecedents of,
Oh, no, that's from Chicago. Cicero. From Chicago, yes. Okay.
of the Phoenicians, those who carry the purple.
Okay. What is the purple?
Way back, oh God, it's Murex squeezing. I take a little snail out of the water and he's in a shell. And I squeeze out this stuff and process it. There's a whole bunch of processing. And they turn it into a substance that we use in our religion, right? In order to induce oystermania. Right? You can tell the girls who develop it because their fingers are stained with the purple. You can tell because their lips are stained with the purple. Yeah. Yeah, it's who knows what's in it. I mean, I've heard people say, oh, is it DMT? Is it blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Whatever. Who knows? Who knows and who cares at this point?
Right.
When do these people stop using drugs?
What is this, Steve? Herculaneum Scrolls, a 20-year-old journey to read the unreadable.
Yeah, this is what Hillman was talking about. This is Herculaneum is that city that was destroyed. It was a sister city to Pompeii, and it has a lot of preserved scrolls in it. And so it's if you can unwrap these crusted little scrolls, you can read them. And there's one kid that did with AI. He used an AI to help him out. But yeah, like what Hillman said, it's a purple.
Christian cult
One of them did.
It was the
revisionism.
first word that they could.
I'm going to sound like a complete idiot when I'm trying to ask you this question, but I'm to the best of my knowledge, at some point, the Romans tried to get rid of all these texts and get rid of all of the links to drugs, right? And they tried to rewrite history.
The Romans, I wouldn't call those people Romans. I would say the Christians.
The Christians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who were the first Christians?
Who were you know who the first one was? It's the guy on the cross with the head of the ass. That's
Jesus was the first Christian.
Was it a male or female, Toshi? Cicero. I hope it was a male. Was he a gelding? Did he have his knackers knocked off, cut off? Was he a gelding like they should do to molesters? They should cut them off, become eunuchs. You know, I don't know the answer to that, Toshi says. Fancy laughs. Toshi says he was already named that when she had him. Okay. He was deaf too. Oh my God. And Jeffrey says, sorry, what, Toshi? You got more of the film trivia than I did last night, Toshi. Did you play film trivia? Oh, I'm used to that. Just guessing, Fancy. What are you asking, Jeff? He didn't hear. Didn't you hear? Over here. Hot and smart. Yeah. Gelding, of course. Ignore me. Don't worry, Jeffrey. We didn't hear you the first time.
That's the first depiction of Jesus.
The first depiction of Jesus.
Yeah, isn't that neat? If you knew the ancient cult, you'd have ears to hear, and you'd know what that means. metamorphoses will teach you everything. The transformations.
Can you expand on that? What was the first depiction of Jesus?
Him on a dude on a cross, very crude. Dude on a cross with a head of an ass.
Or your head of a gelding.
Yeah, you
The
didn't
head
know
of a gelding.
Nicander.
No.
No, Nicander was a priest, 1st century BC, late 2nd, 1st. And at the time, they were all super well educated.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy Nicander, he's quoted by later authorities.
No, it was the very first graffiti on the walls in Rome, the most oldest that they've found. It's found. It's well known now, and it's a picture of a man on a cross with the head of a donkey. The head of a donkey, you know, because Jesus came in to Jerusalem on the back of a donkey. This is the ass god. And guess what? That comes further from Egyptian. The actual depiction of that is not an ass. It is the dog Egyptian god. Not Anubis, or is it Anubis? The jackal. It's the jackal god. Can't remember his name. Anyway.
He's all over the place. They're going to find Nicander.
So at what point, or was there a point that the drug use started to taper off?
Yeah, in the 3rd and 4th, you start getting movements of Christianity that is bursting in. Libanius talks about these. They're raids. And the Christians burst in if anybody is using incense. Because one of the main ways that they're using drugs is through fumigation.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an active practice. The first Bach at Medea, she does this. There's an account of it by Diodorus.
But when they say incense, it was not incense. It was made like incense, manufactured like incense, and you burnt it like incense. But what it was marijuana, and you were inhaling the marijuana. And you know who did that? Yes, Anubis. And you know what, Jeffrey? In my book, in my my sci-fi fringe, transsexual, trans LGBT horror thriller set in London, there is of course the ultimate chapter of the orgy, and who did I have to because it's the book, hey, it's the book, and the not I, the what do you call him, the lead character in the book called Julian Kane summons Anubis to be the spirit god, to, you know, instead of summoning Anubis, I was thinking Anubis because he is, and that when you orgasm, you have your little death. Well, I promise you that when I sent that book, I sent a, what do you call it, it's the 3rd edited version by email to Mississippi Talker, and I think that's why the FBI and the CIA wanted me dead, because they were disgusted at the time. Well, not the FBI, but these criminals that want to kill people with deviant minds.
The Sicilian. And
the Sicilian minds.
Full of all the best, choicest drugs, and carried it through the town burning.
Mm-hmm.
Carried it through the town and fumigated everyone.
Wow.
And everybody joined into this giant thing that we now call an orgy.
Anubis is the god that ushers you to the other side. You want him there. And haven't you watched any of these movies with, I don't know, what was it? It's Star Wars, or where they go through the portal, and it's Anubis that has to take you through the portal to the other side, you know, open the portal. It's Anubis. He is the Lord of graves, the protector of graves, yes, but he was the first god to create mummification. And he taught, it was Stargate, yeah. He taught us how to embalm bodies. We get it from him, from the ancient Egyptians. And the Indians, I suppose, too. Yes.
Right, when we say the rites, the cult rites, those are the orcs. Right. And you have the associations, but not.
Well, it's not really authorities. It's just people who pay big money to get you off the streets of YouTube because you're a threat to other channels, not just American channels, YouTube channels. You're a threat to other gatekeepers, and of course, the Lavender Mafia.
I'm not going there.
Well, there was,
unless you'd like to.
Were a thing. They were just a thing that was always going on right back then. And
no.
No.
What do you think? These people are lunatics? There's just like a whole bunch of.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, this isn't.
I thought that there was. I thought that there was like in Athens.
Yeah, like in Greece.
In Greece, there was always a feast, but the problem was that there was like family members participating in the same, like a mother and son.
Yeah.
And then that was looked down upon by the people in Rome.
That's what the Christians were doing. They started persecuting the Christians for the Roman government.
Oh, so the Christians were the ones that were
the
not the Greeks.
The Christ.
No, it was Roman political.
Okay, so the first depiction of Christ was a man being crucified with a donkey head.
Correct.
And so who was Jesus Christ?
Yeah, Christ is a title.
Christ is a title.
Yeah, Christ is a title. Yeah, and it's a pharmaceutical term. It's
Polly, put the kettle on. We'll all have tea.
Yeah, yes, and it means
or
there
coffee.
are several examples of this.
Or me.
It means you can perform an incrustation, they called it, where I give you a drug. What you'll see me do is I'll spit on the ground. I'll spit on the ground and I'll use a combination of earth and spittle, my own spittle. Why am I spitting? Did you know Jesus walked out and spit in people's faces?
I thought you said Christ was just he was an actual person?
In the text. Who is he in the text?
Who is, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's most important.
Okay.
And that text is going to show us history, right? You can say what you want about the text as long as we're translating it accurately. So what is the text? Because the text is our evidence. This is science, man. I refuse to give over the discipline of classics to the humanities people. It needs to be taken by the scientists. Linguistics is a science. I'm not a linguist. I'm a classical philologist.
What's the difference?
Linguists do general stuff, right? Like how language acts under certain circumstances, or it's the basic mechanics.
Allegra was a linguist.
Yeah, classicists do just Greek, and then there are some that do Latin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me more about Christ.
Yeah, so it's a drug term, and it means to be putting that thing in your eye. Can I show you some?
So to Christ or to christen means to put drugs in your eyes.
Originally, yeah.
Originally.
Okay.
So how did this
eye drops
get turned into the person everybody knows as Jesus Christ?
The fairy tale.
Yeah.
For example, you can talk about the age of the apostles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody gets in their mind the images of bearded adult men,
mm-hmm.
right? People don't realize those are teenagers.
The apostles. We're talking about the picture of like Jesus with the apostles at the Last Supper.
Yeah, notice they're all bearded men.
They're all bearded men, yeah.
Yeah. What happened? Because the original description, he's constantly calling them children, and they aren't. Yeah,
in the original description, who's constantly calling?
Okay, so James and John are two of Jesus's boys.
Yes.
He picked them up one day on a boat.
What do you mean boys? Like they're his homies, or like they're his children?
Yeah. What do they do? That's the question. They end up together a lot with boys in tombs.
With boys in tombs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Multiple documents show that.
Okay.
We have Saint Cyril coming out of one of these graveyards with a bunch of venom, it says, bleeding out his, and a couple of prophets with him. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Every Heracles.
In the secret gospel of Luke, who is the son of Mark or Luke? Mark. There is a scripture that says, and Jesus and Mary Magdalene left the tomb with the young man, and he was healed after that. Yes, this is all those of off to La La Land.
Has his Hylas.
What was
Yeah.
how common was in these cultures back then? in the society?
Define.
How was prostitution viewed, and how ubiquitous was prostitution, and what was it looked down upon? Was it just an accepted part of society, kind of like drugs were?
Oh God, we got to go to Cyprus. We got to go to Cyprus and worship Aphrodite, where once a year your wife has two choices. Either she can shave her head and stay with you, or she can go to the public forum and pick up one of the local sailors and with them all night, not thinking about you, and come back the next day and be completely healed. Yeah. That's the devotion. That's the devotion to the Aphrodite. Remember, the Romans are children of Venus. So this is embedded. This woman-centric, gorgeous goddess. This is part of their medical system. It's part of their healing. And so those, you asked me about later, the Christians would call them prostitutes. And that's where you and I get our term of prostitute from.
Okay.
And the negative, you would never, these are priestesses of Aphrodite. You've made sacred the institution of
Prostitutes.
Why would the wives have to go out for the sailors? And who were the sailors?
I don't know, sometimes you get the need.
Who were the sailors?
Look, they come in and they go. And it's a religious festival. If you have a problem with that, that's between you and your wife. Now, what kind of instruction does that give to the people, to the men on Cyprus?
What kind of instruction?
What do you learn from that kind of religious festival? Where once a year your wife gets to go have it with whomever she wants.
Are the wives wanting to do this?
Yeah. Well, you have to ask them when they're doing it. But since they all come back with smiles.
It says that? They come back with smiles?
No, I made up they come back with smiles. But they do it every year. And you only have one choice. Shave your head and enter. And why do they say shave your head? Because that shows that you're in the sign of mourning. That you're mourning the loss of Adonis. That you're mourning that. So you stay with your husband. You see the loyalty? She's loyal to him even in death. The women who keep their hair, that's resurrection, baby. All right? They're out there. This is Easter. Yeah. Yeah. Does that kid look exactly like you? Yeah. Half sisters and brothers.
Huh.
Yeah. Children of Aphrodite. Right? Sons of God. These are Romans. That's what the Romans called themselves. Right? Offspring of Aphrodite herself. It's gorgeous. Once you have access to these texts, you'll be surprised. It'll open up a whole new world that is the actual history. History means inquiry. It's not a linear chain of events. It means inquiry. And specifically, historia were the questions that you ask oracles. And who are oracles? Some 14-year-old girl totally bombed on drugs. Singing. Wow. Singing. Yeah, her words, they're divine. If we follow them, we're going to end up at democracy.
I think it was in your book, I think it was Plato who you said that he was attempting to, or maybe he wasn't attempting to, but he thought of drugs and delusion and creativity and mania all as the same thing. Right. And I think you used an analogy to the human soul being driven by two horses. The human soul was a chariot being pulled by two horses that were fed drugs, basically.
What you know whose horses those are? Those are the horses of the gods, baby. Right? And what are the gods fed? Ambrosia.
Ambrosia.
You know who has the best ambrosia? Ganymede. You know who Ganymede is?
I don't.
I'm sorry. If I may, kill this if you have to. Please, Steve.
So for people who are listening to this podcast now, if it's on YouTube, it's going to be heavily censored because there's some words and there's some descriptions that Ammon is giving here that can't be shown on YouTube. So if you want to watch this thing fully uncensored, it's on our Patreon. It's linked below. Sorry to interrupt. Continue, please.
I will be as literal and direct as possible, the most scientific as possible, in honor of you, Dan, because I don't want to.
I just want to make sure that this thing gets out to as many people as possible.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the high priests and priestesses at YouTube and Google will not let that happen if there are crazy words being used. So
yes, no,
that's the only reason.
Totally. So Ganymede is the lover boy of Zeus. And what he does is he pours Zeus the nectar. And Priapus is the god of the in antiquity.
There's a god of erection.
Yeah, in the Met Museum. You can see they've got a thing up now of all the Priapaic stuff and all the, when you're in a city and you see a statue of Priapus, you rub the if you're a young girl, you rub the for the sake of, good luck. It's a positive thing. So you'd see people doing this. Every garden has a statue of Priapus in Rome.
Can you find a statue? Oh, there we go.
A statue.
Oh my God. Blow up one of these photos. Blow up that one in the middle.
That's a beautiful
Priapus
one.
was just okay. This is according to Wikipedia. Okay, Priapus was described in various sources as the son of Aphrodite by Dionysus, and the son of Dionysus and Chion as perhaps the father or son of Hermes, or as the son of Zeus or Pan. Okay.
So that thing.
Oh wow! Hang on. Go back real quick. Wait. Actually, according to legend, Hera cursed him with inconvenient impotence. He could not sustain and when the time came for intercourse. Inconvenient impotence.
I've read this,
so he had a huge, but he couldn't get it hard.
I've read descriptions in different ancient authors about
so big it couldn't get it up
in order to induce and to reduce it. So yeah, it's a drug thing that they're using. Look at that little guy there. You know, the first thing Bacchus did when he came back from hell is he sat over the grave of the guy who pointed in the direction of the cave where he had to go find the underworld. Yeah. Why are they doing that stuff with their?
Why are these people such sickos?
You asked me. You were like, "Are you sure you're not just focusing too much?" Look at this.
Yeah, no, it's. I guess it's hard to escape, right?
Yeah. The first depictions of Aphrodite are she has a beautiful woman with a
penis.
Coming right at you.
Can you find this, Steve?
Yeah, find the early Aphrodite sculptures, please.
Early Aphrodite sculptures.
Yeah. Love it. It's good stuff. And they put stuff on those. You can find this in the Satyricon, right? And that's how they're administering drugs. That's how they're administering this. Yes, and orally.
Anally,
and ocular. They have an ocular administration. Am I pushing?
Ocular.
Yeah, no, not that's spreading the seed, brother. Right? Don't you want to have an incrustation? Somebody's seed. The Ophites. The Ophites, they called them in antiquity.
There it is.
They're a sect.
This is Aphrodite?
Look, she's lifting up her skirt. What's she got under their skirt?
Oh my Lord.
What is that?
Now, why?
It's a statue of Aphroditos.
Why not? Yeah, why not?
Huh.
Yeah.
Why not?
Is that disturbing?
It's not disturbing. It's just interesting. I'm wondering, were they hyper obsessed with gender, and why were they so obsessed with?
They don't even have a word for homosexual.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So it's all part of they don't seem to have a problem.
So there was no moral or ideological boundaries when it came to, of course. Obviously, or scientific. I mean, scientific, other than the fact you can create offspring, right?
One thing you have to say, and I always use this, whenever you hear a historian or classicist or anybody using generalities, right? That's you can tell that they're full of it. Different cultures. We're talking about span of 2,000 years. Say 1,000 BC to 1,000 Anno Domini. About 2,000 years. So in that time, you've got a lot of different things going on, right? Spartan. What do we do? And they sent somebody out to the oracle. And the oracle at Delphi told them, she said, you got to import the worship of the Great Mother.
Okay.
And so they did.
Okay.
And they blew them. That's when they blew up into an empire. This is like 205 BC.
Okay.
And after that, they just blew up. Their controllers blew up. It's that ecstatic worship of the mother. That's what requires the king. Imagine how devoted you would have to be to the Great Mother. Cut off your own. Now, he said sometimes tourists do get wrapped up on the whole festival and will be like, they'll join in. But that's
Sure.
right. Remember, you're on drugs and you're being whipped and stuff too, baby. I mean, this is intricate. This is crazy stuff. There's a sadistic level to this. Oh, it's gorgeous. They open up these Roman villas, like the Villa of the Mysteries, Herculaneum and Pompeii and stuff. They open those things up and they've got all these.
The death of Jesus. Let's hear this one. Oh, please. There's also the Garden of Gethsemane. Okay. I have to do that, I suppose. Yeah. Sorry, my laptop's very slow.
Any place in history, what's the first place you would go?
Yeah, I would go back to the Garden of Gethsemane.
The Garden of Gethsemane.
It's the public park where Jesus was arrested.
You are obsessed with this.
Yeah, I think
you constantly talk about this moment when Jesus was arrested.
Yeah, it's why is that?
Is this in the Bible?
Yes, it is.
Also, dumb question. How many versions of the modern Bible are there?
I don't know how many, but I can think of at least 12.
And what's the difference between them all? Why is there so many versions?
Depends on the time that they're translated. And if you'll notice, a lot of them will follow the earlier authors. Right? Bible scholars don't read anything outside of the Bible. So how good do you think their vocab is? How good do you think their translation skills are? Mm-hmm. Right, that's the problem. So those translations are generally pretty bad. That's what I brought some examples of.
Okay.
And this is in the garden, actually, that I brought these slides for.
Okay.
And this is the Garden of Gethsemane. And where are we? We're with Jesus in the first. And he's being arrested.
Okay, so let's give some context.
Yeah.
Let's give some context. So who was Jesus and why, and what is so good? What is so great about him?
He studied all of these books. That's how he knows. He is a translator. He translates from original Greek.
Yeah, Jesus is a guy who walked around with 12 children, and
all the time,
and a group of. No, I'm just telling you what the text
says. He was just a guy who walked around with
prostitutes children.
So what was so great about him?
He called his disciples and he calls them his children constantly. Right? Remember, God.
So he's my children.
God blesses those who take care of the children.
Yes.
Right.
My children.
Okay.
Yeah.
He takes care of these children.
He takes care of these children.
Okay.
There is a female underage called a Paidiska. When Jesus Christ is in his trial,
good morning.
His followers will admit they're his followers.
Good morning to you.
It's the whole, you're going to deny me. Right? Jesus is all like, I'm going to get friggin' scandalized. Right? And you're going to deny me. When he's in the garden and he gets caught. Mm-hmm. And those three, Peter, James, and John, they're keeping watch, the text says. They're guarding at a distance. While Jesus takes a boy that's been assigned to him. That's what the text says. Like a slave.
You're working, mission. You're going to work.
So the depiction of this event is only in one version of the Bible, right? Is it, Matthew?
No, it's in multiple, but the kid is like having Mark.
Only in Mark.
Cardboard.
Yeah. Okay, and it's only like 2 sentences, right? Steve, can you pull up the passage?
I've got it here.
Oh, you've got it there. Okay.
Yeah. 1451. Is that first line?
I can pull up the passages and show the different versions and how it translates as well. What passage is it?
Mark 14.
The purple. Purple sounds like people.
And these are ancient Greeks. They're already at the level of creating a language that is so highly specialized, we're still trying to translate it. Look at Porphyrios here, right? And you see the different dialects that you get from the top. You got it in Attic, and you got it in Aeolian, and so you got some Sappho there. Well, look at number 1, right? It's something to do with the sea. Number 2,
blood gushing.
The purple. Number 2, the purple.
Of stuff, cloths, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Etc.
It's a dye, right? Look at number 3, purple clad. You can have the purple people, right? Walking around with their purple. And then
but also the word die, to die, when you die, comes from the word die, D-Y-E. When there is a scripture, I think it's from, but it's ancient. It's only released later. You know, they released these books later, like in the early 1900s. The Catholic Church released this book where John, I think it's John or Thomas, speaks of God is the dyer. And when you die, you get dyed. You get dipped in his dye when you die. It all comes from to be dyed. But now these people actually dipped their fingers in purple dye, and their lips were purple too. That's the Phoenicians.
Purple spots, but then number 5 is a specific, and then number 6, oh, more than, there it is. It's that thing that sets, right? The purple. It's the chemical that we're going to be using within the rite to make what is called the burning purple, and that comes from the Virgin. And
they come from the Virgin.
Yeah, right. Mary's fingers were covered with purple, and when her midwife came in to check her, because that's what midwives do. All this stuff, by the way, is coming from medicine. It's coming from women's medicine. Yeah, that's where all the science is.
And when the midwife came in to check her,
Mary, she palpated her. How'd she do that? So she stuck her 2 fingers in. And
that's what they do when someone's pregnant, to check
Yeah.
how dilated their cervix is.
Do the same thing with cows, right?
So true.
No, well, here and then she. Oh
Would
God,
you
now
go
you're gonna have to pull that out. Don't say that. Don't.
Sorry.
Okay. What happened?
Yeah, we're just creating more work for the editor.
She had purple fingers, and those purple fingers burned. Right? It says the apocryphal texts say it burned her.
I used to sell cacao tea, which was made from the cocoa plant where you get cocaine. And it was offered originally to people who get mountain sickness. You know, when you come down from the high mountains, I think it's from the South America, the high Peruvian mountain range, or Chile, when you come down the mountain, then you get altitude sickness. And this tea was drunk when you come down the mountain, called cacao.
Finger, the midwife's finger. Okay.
Why am I talking about this? Well, they're busy talking about this in the chat because Mission said he's having cornflakes, milk, sugar, sencha green tea with no milk but honey. Wow. Very nice. And so also Toshi said, well, like when I dye my hair, it also dyes a little bit each time. Jeffrey likes his coffee, Keurig. I can't stand this Nescafe. I can't stand Jacobs. I can't stand Keurig that much. I like my espresso, proper Lavazza, but I drink cheap chicory coffee. It's not even really coffee. We grow chicory in the Eastern Cape. Mission says, do you know about Chinese green tea? Oh, come on, Mission. Come on, did you really ask that question? Some more expensive than weed. There's some teapots worth hundreds of thousands. Really? Wow, I didn't know that, Mission. Toshi, Dot must be gone. No, it sounds like a shoot street. Steer clear of that.
Where are we getting Baptists from? And you say, wait a minute, this thing's jumping all over. No, we're still talking about the purple. Look at this. This is the word bathe.
Dipping of red hot iron in water, hence temper or edge of a blade or tool produced thereby.
Yeah. Now look at number 2.
Dye.
And the source there is Theophrastus.
Dye of blood.
Yeah, that's the source there is Theophrastus, and it's the Historia Plantarum. He was a student of Aristotle, and he's the first botanist. He wasn't the first botanist, but he was considered to be the father of botany. And if you look at the word that follows Theophrastus, it's porphyra, which is just the word we got out of Herculaneum. And it says porphyra bathe. The baptism is a baptism into the purple.
The dye.
We didn't leave the cult. We're still in the cult. Right, Baptists, you know what Baptists carry? They carry
drugs.
Yeah, they carry drugs.
Drugs. Sorry, I'm wrong.
And by the way, in the Roman market is an open market.
The Roman market is an open.
I have to tell you something. Today is my anniversary, my 4-year anniversary. 2020 on the 30th. Oh no, it's not today. Tomorrow. I'm almost there. Mission's there already. I took my very first needle on the 30th of December, 2020. For reasons we'll still find out. Clay teapots made especially for green tea with the mint. I didn't know that. handmade. Have you found any wild antiquity? Antiquing. Yes, antiquing mission. Mission is the antiquer. And we used to, no, I mustn't say that. I was a tweaker. Oh dear Lord.
Market.
Yeah, you can buy anything. You can buy venom from North Africa in the Roman market, make a concoction that'll knock you down. And we know this because they have recipes and doctors writing about what do you do when you come across somebody and he's had too much hemlock. The first time I read that, I was like, wait a minute, too much hemlock? That's what Socrates was killed with, right? Yeah, but this is a dude who
They use small amounts to trip balls.
he said he'll be walking on all fours and bleeding like a sheep. Yeah, and what do? You got to give them an antidote. And that's what I was talking before about. The rope that's in the cave, that's guiding us through the cave, is the science. They have come through, the Romans have come through a world that was a Bronze Age renaissance of drugs, dotes and antidotes, they call it, Christs and antichrists.
Oh.
Yeah. They are pharmacological terms. And they're using them that way. And when you get baptized, this is what you're being baptized into. It's the only way to bring eternal life. And you say, wait a minute, what? I thought, because you're thinking the wrong eternal life. There's no phrase in the New Testament that says eternal life. They all say ionic life.
Ionic life. What does that mean?
It's
in the chat, they're talking about clay teapots, especially for green tea, worth a mint and handmade. So Mission says, no, Toshi, I have a glazed one for green tea, but no originals. So aren't they, what do you call it, enameled? Don't you want to enamel it? Or porcelainize? Don't you get porcelain ones? Originals look like dry clay, not glaze. Wow. What? Because it comes from really poor mountain people, farmers.
Outside the time stream. That's how they describe it. Pythagoras said it has 360 degrees. Yeah.
So they're talking about some sort of DMT realm, maybe.
I don't know, quantum physics. I don't understand it because they're also talking about the dark star. This stuff is all accessible across the dark star. So I don't know what that means, but I know that you have to join a lot of drugs and
nice one. I can picture them.
Behavior. Where does Bacchus always lead? Bacchus always leads us to Aphrodite.
Okay, the clay picks up the green.
Because she is life. There's a sacred name of Rome that is secret, and I give everybody on my channel a hard time.
What?
To derive the sacred name. They can't derive the sacred name, but you're being baptized into. It's the only way to bring eternal life. And you say, wait a minute, what? I thought, because you're thinking the wrong eternal life. There's no phrase in the New Testament that says eternal life. They all say ionic life.
Ionic life. What does that mean?
It's outside the time stream. That's how they describe it. Pythagoras said it has 360 degrees. Yeah.
So they're talking about some sort of DMT realm, maybe.
I don't know, quantum physics. I don't understand it because they're also talking about the dark star.
Different timelines.
This stuff is all accessible across the dark star.
Different timelines.
So I don't know what that means, but I know that you have to join a lot of drugs and a lot of behavior. Where does Bacchus always lead? Bacchus always leads us to Aphrodite. Why is that? Because she is life. There's a sacred name of Rome that is secret, and I give everybody on my channel a hard time to derive the sacred name. They can't derive the sacred name. If you know this is what they said in antiquity, don't blame me. They said if you knew the sacred name of Rome, you can control her power.
If you knew the sacred name of Rome, you could control her power.
Yeah. And that name is the operation of the mystery.
Operation of the mystery.
Yeah, it's the operation. It is that resurrection of the Korah. That's why which they did at Eleusis every year.
Right.
Which is why you have the very same kind of worship that's spreading through the oracles. The oracles are spreading the power of that Eleusinian, they call it a purification. When you can put your population through an act that brings them healing, they're better citizens.
Yes. I'm wasting you guys' time watching this. I'm enjoying this. The death of Jesus. And then we finish up.
So these translations that you just pulled up, what does this have to do with, or what does this tell you about the scene of Jesus in the park?
That's exactly what this verse says right here. It says,
can you zoom in on that a little bit?
Yeah, can we?
There you go. There you go. He just did it.
Yeah, and so he's what happened? So Jesus is there, and it says the kid dropped the bandage and ran off. That's exactly what that says.
Was Mark,
dropped the bandage and ran off.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it says specifically in previous in 51 that it was epigumnos. And epigumnos is on his private parts.
An epigumno, which is the bandage that's soaked in drugs.
The scene-done that's on there, right? And why? Why is Jesus with the kid? Remember when he first walks in the garden, he falls over, he stumbles over, and he's in pain. He's going through the exact same symptoms that doctors will describe
Jesus
of the drug users. Yeah, it's in this chapter. It's in Mark 14. Yeah.
So he's tripping.
It says that he's exceptionally fearful, right? So it looks like he's in some kind of psychotic fear, and he's screaming about, "Take it, don't let me do it." And he's with his kid. He's with this kid at the time, right? And he ends up with stuff on his face, stuff that is like drops of poor food on him.
Talking about bodily fluids.
Blood is how it's typically, no, that's how it's translated. It's not the blood that he's got, it's purple. And he's got an antidote from the kids. That's the galene, is the kid's
semen.
Heracles has to have
the kid's
Hylas.
semen.
He has to have his boy. Zeus has to have Ganymede. On the Priapeic side, they call it Ganymedes. And the question is, do you drink from Ganymedes?
I don't.
Well, that's why you're not in charge.
Yeah, probably. All right, bring me back down to earth here. What's going on in the park again? So Jesus has the purple on his face.
Yeah, he's got the purple on his face.
So Jesus is having some sort of a psychotic fit, right?
He's having some kind of overwhelming emotional state. It's hitting him so hard, he's falling on the ground. So he's got something on board that's causing him to stumble.
And it's 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m. Yeah.
And he's got and who
he just came from
who wrote this, by the way?
Party with the kids. He just came from.
Did one of the cops write this? One of the cops that arrested him?
No, this is Mark. Yeah.
Mark was there.
No, Mark is telling you the secret things that you're not supposed to know.
So how does Mark know if he wasn't there?
Yeah, well, I don't care if he does or doesn't know. The fact is he's saying them.
Okay.
And that's what's scary.
Well, how do we know Mark didn't have an axe to grind against Jesus? You want to make Jesus look like a bad guy and make him look like a weirdo or a crazy person.
He could, maybe. I don't know. No, I know.
Right.
That's why I say we have to stick with exactly what the source is.
The point is that this is, take it for what it's worth. This is what Mark said.
Yeah. And
Mark was not there.
No, it's Peter, James, and John, and the kid.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Mark, where did Jesus come from before this? In the scene, he came from the place where he was with all the kids in the upper room. That's where they came from. Right.
In what room?
In the upper room. It's just the way they refer to the place. Look, it was shady. This is part of the cops. This is part of what the cops have on him. Right. He sent out a couple of his boys to go scout out a place. And when he did, he told him, "Hey, you're going to come to this guy." And he's standing there and he's doing this. And you got to approach him and say, "Jesus' boys, where do we need a place for Jesus to celebrate?" And he says, "Take him in here." And he finds a guy and they take him up. They get a shady backroom business. Remember, what does Jesus do with his boys? We all know this. That's why we're a crowd and we're angry and we want Jesus crucified. Now you understand why there was a freaking crowd there. Yeah. A little bit brutal with them, weren't they? Well, yeah, they had good reason to be. He was with those 12 underage kids in that room washing feet.
Washing feet.
Wash feet. Have you ever washed somebody's feet? Wow.
Not that I can recall.
How about a 12-year-old boy?
No, absolutely not.
No, why wouldn't you? Do you have some kind of problem with Jesus?
Apparently I do.
Yeah, okay. All right. That's too bad because he ends up in the garden after this with the 3 older ones and he says, "Keep guard," while he takes the young kid off to the middle of the garden. In the meantime, they're falling asleep while Jesus is rolling around in agony and doing what he's got to do to get for the galene from the boy. And that's the mastery here. The boy has some kind of antidote. Galen describes it's not milky.
Galen describes this.
Yeah, as long as the girls exudate from their breast. You can milk. You didn't know you can?
I did not know that.
Okay, we can.
You can milk
young has girls' antibodies in it to whatever the venoms they're using. Because these same girls,
and this stuff,
you cut them and you wrap them with the snake venom. And that's why we all hold up the serpent. Right? We all know it. You see my tattoo. Right? It doesn't say it was on a pole.
Show me the tattoo.
It says it was on a tattoo. I'm just any of them. I'm waxing poetic. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Galen talks about this that boys and girls create, and he talks about this being used as an antidote to snake venom specifically.
It's the galene. It's a Greek term that means the calm after the storm. Galene. And
Well, what is the calm after the storm supposed to mean, though?
Because, okay, remember how Jesus was screaming on the cross?
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to scream while you're on the cross, right? You don't have to.
All right.
But he not only was a screamer, he was a dyer early. He didn't die of the crucifixion. Jesus Christ did not die of a crucifixion. He screams out, and then boom, he's gone. And it says the soldiers are surprised. They report it to Pilate. Like, he died early, bro. LIONESE tells us that vinegar that they offered to Jesus on the cross and the sponge, that was an antidoton to the deep sauce. The deep sauce is the horned viper of North Africa, and its venom makes you really thirsty. They were trying to give him an antidote. His followers always, as they were around the cross, they were trying to give him an antidote. He didn't get it, and he overdosed. He's dead. That's it.
How did they administer the snake venom?
Oh, that's the brother.
While he was on the cross?
No. Oh, no, he had it already by the time. When he shows up in the garden, he's got it on his face.
Oh, so he had already been given this. He gave himself the snake venom?
That's why he's going through the gyrations and feeling bad. He's already going through it. It was the voice.
That was the antidote to it.
It was the antidote. And he says, let this cup pass. What is that cup? In Apocalypse, the Revelation?
Yes.
It's.
So not only was this stuff being used as an antidote, they were also mixing it with other stuff to get high?
It's polypharmacy. It's a ton of plants and animal substances. Some of them I laugh at, oh my God, gee, how did they figure that out? No idea.
But didn't you mention that somehow the boy or either animals or humans were used to endogenously create drugs?
They tested on roosters. They tested drugs on roosters, and they would give them poisons and then feed them the antidote, cause them to swallow the antidote. And to see if that, Galen writes about that. He says you can do it on people too, and they do.
So were they giving the poisons to these people and then assuming that these people their immune system would react in a certain way and they could pull out, like, for lack of a better term, like the antibodies that we're using to fight the poison and use that to put into other people?
I think that's what's happening when they talk about breast milk. These priestesses will give off a breast milk. They cut their arms,
and they would give themselves drugs, and then they would
give themselves the venom over time in a wrap,
and
then
their body would start fighting against it, and then they would pull out the breast milk and use that as an antivenom,
as an antivenom, yeah, essentially,
or an antichrist.
It's not really an anti-venom either. It is a balancing drug,
right?
So you're not stopping the venom. You're basically, the physicians say you're stopping the negative symptoms.
Oh wow.
Yeah, polypharmacy.
Wow.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's get some hemlock and some henbane, some aconite, some really poisonous stuff. And then,
do you think that their pharmaceutical knowledge and their drug knowledge, if we understood all of that today, do you think it would advance our knowledge currently in science and pharmaceuticals and the treatments of illnesses and disease?
Yeah, undoubtedly. And I tell people just that. They're thinking of making the human body the producer of the drug, right? Your body.
It's way more than I thought it was. So why in the Bible do they explain that the guys who were being crucified next to Jesus were just thieves?
Yeah, that's how they translate it. That's how they translate it.
And again, this is not on purpose. They just accidentally did this.
How are you going to translate
it? But isn't it convenient that isn't it convenient for them that they let all this out?
Oh, you are right on top of it, detective. No, seriously, write your dissertation. Why would you choose between a kid having a linen garment and a bandage on his parts? And why would you choose to present Jesus in a way that's not accurate to the sources? I'm not saying to anybody's interpretation. There's no room for interpretation here. It's just what do the sources say? He's a laistace,
which is a pimp,
which is basically a trafficker.
A trafficker.
Yeah.
Which was looked down upon, which was frowned upon back then.
Because it's an active, organized crime.
Organized,
but a civil crime.
You've got boys of Galilee, and those boys of Galilee, they're entrenched in the.
But didn't you say that when the people approached Jesus in the park, we call them cops. They were like
Roman cops.
Did they have chest cams?
No, but they had big weapons. He notes it, and I have that.
And he said, and according to Matthew, the first thing he said is, "I am not a lay stace or a hooker.
Right. He said, I'm not a lay stace, man. He says, why did you come out here? Why did you come out here with all your heavy weapons like I'm a lay stace?
Right.
Right. Right. So
well, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just trying to get the antidote.
Well, it could be, but he's making a big deal about it, right? For some reason. And he's standing there contextually right next to a kid. So, maybe he's trying to give an answer for why there's a kid with him in a public park and for him.
If I'm his lawyer, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes. No, more importantly, what's that kid actually doing? And I think that's the question.
What do you think?
The evidence only shows that he could be one of these boy dudes who's providing the people who are in the cult with the galene.
Okay.
With the thing that's going to balance whatever it is that Jesus has taken, it's put him into a state. And
this is new to me, Mission. This is brand new to me. Mission says, you calling Jesus a trafficker now, Lion, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I scare people away with the stuff I bring up. Bringing up this shit. Santa. There was a preacher in England, and he scared all these first graders. He said, no, Santa is not real. And they all got PSTD, what you call it, post-traumatic stress syndrome, went home crying, and the whole community, the whole school forced this father of I don't know, Protestant church, Catholic church, I don't know which church, but the preacher man, and the preacher man wrote an open letter to the children apologizing for saying that Santa wasn't real.
Yeah, it doesn't work, and he ends up dying on the cross. And if you notice in the resurrection, we just had Easter. Did anybody notice there's another?
We just had Easter, and we just had an eclipse.
Yeah, another boy with Jesus in the tomb. Don't you remember?
What?
No.
Yes.
I never read the Bible.
In the tomb in Mark. Yes,
right.
You're right.
Oh, we gotta start reading the Bible.
Should I read it?
Yeah, I think you should.
Which version should I read?
The Greek version. Yeah. Come to my class. I'll have you 20 weeks. 20 weeks. I'll have you with just enough to be dangerous.
20 weeks.
Yeah. Well, no, most of my students are.
How do I go to your class?
40.
Is it online?
40 weeks.
Do I have to show up to a university?
I'm working for a.
What?
Demon possession.
Pushback or backlash have you gotten from the mainstream academic institutions for talking about all this stuff?
The Lavender Mafia.
None.
No. It's better to ignore. It takes him professor from Brown told me it'll take him 10 years to catch up with your research. And they're just
Didn't something happen with the
behind.
church? Didn't the church or something come and make a statement about you specifically?
I was investigated by the Catholic Church.
You were investigated by the Catholic Church when?
When I worked for the St. Mary's University.
Really? And how did you find out this?
I had a Monsignor come to me and say, hey, I've been to, he was one of my students, right?
This is 7 months
tabs
old.
on everything and learning Greek. You got to learn Greek in the process. So I hope he kept it up to this day. He told me, he said, I've been to 5 meetings about you.
What?
I couldn't help but laugh. At this time, I had professors coming to me going, you're going to get fired. You can't get fired. And by the way, we support what you're doing, but we're not going to put our asses out there.
Right.
I thought, well, cowards, but whatever. I had to stay true to the sources. So I did. So the Catholic Church, look, a student on campus claimed that she woke up at 4:35 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that I had
I did say I'm sorry, Mission.
I floated through the door of her dorm.
Yesterday or the other day, I said I'm sorry. I'm still owing some money, and I've got no money to
I hovered over her bed, and then she woke up and made a noise, and I extended my hand and paralyzed her. Now, this student was released from school due to the mania. It was a mental discharge.
This was one of your students?
No, she wasn't one of my students. She was one of the students that was working on the play, the Medea, that I was the contracted advisor for.
Okay.
And the student.
So you hear what he said. He reached out to the young student, and she had an instant period drop out of her vagina.
That I allegedly hovered over and made cosmic love to. was the lead role as the younger form. We had 2 forms. We had a younger, the one that killed her brother, and then an older form. Yeah.
And
So they had a hearing. They had an
So who did she tell this to? Who did she tell the story to?
Administration.
And how did the Catholic Church get
The
involved?
church had an inquiry, and the bishop had to come and sit. I'm sure it was hilarious. I had a group of people before the inquiry. I had a group of people come to me and say, I was like, who are these people in my office? And they said, we know who you are, and we know what you're doing, and the demons that you're working with. And I was like, excuse me? Right? Excuse me? And then there was the inquiry, the formal inquiry, and there was I'm told it was 2 charges. Number 1 was demon possession, which
Yes, I know GTK is a good bloke, but he can't stand me having an opinion that's not the same as his opinion. None of us have the same fucking opinion, and I'm allowed to be opinionated and when I'm triggered, say what I want to say. If you're offended, go make a video. I've told you before. Go make a video if you're offended. You might grow your channel.
That's pretty metal.
No. Number 2, I was opening portals.
To where?
I don't know. But do you think I would be a Catholic?
Can you find this? Is this published anywhere?
Yeah, it is. I got to finish though, so people can have a little sympathy for me. I was fired after the production of the Medea. It was wildly successful. People said it was the best thing they ever produced, right? But I had furies, choruses of Catholic university students.
Lucifer, the dawn bringer.
And you have the associations of sunrise with, Easter and all that kind of stuff like that. They get there early because they're dawn bringers, right? Jesus is saying in the apocalypse, he says, I am the morning star.
Jesus says that.
Yes, in the Revelation, yes, he does say it.
A what?
A bra.
A bra.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's a special device.
So what do you make of that? Why did he say he was the morning star?
Because he has to be, if he's going to be the Christ. If he's going to be the one in the position to be elevated as Christ, he's got to be the morning star. That's the title. They're all dawn bringers.
Okay.
Right? Christos is a dawn bringer.
Mm.
Right? So yeah, he's got to. He's following. At least the people who are writing about him in John, John's Apocalypse, at least they're making that association.
Mm.
Yeah, notice that they've got filtra too. The angels, when an angel pours out a filtra, right, or filtron, when they pour it out, that's a drug-containing device. So the angels that pour out the plagues, those are drugs. The beast is called Therion.
So how did Lucifer become a bad guy?
How did Lucifer become a bad guy? Because God's a liar.
Zeus?
Yeah.
Zeus. What did Zeus do to him?
He lied.
How?
He closed the eyes of his Ewa.
Of his what?
Of his Ewa, his Eve. In order to make the second Adam. Right? Don't you know we're dealing with
What?
Huh?
Yeah. God killing his only son.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In order to elevate him into what they call the Soter. That's the savior. That's what we get for savior. Right? That's an old title for Lucifera, the female dawnbringer.
The female dawnbringer, vagina, and
this is hard to. A lot of this is really hard to digest.
That's what that boy thought, probably.
Where does the word Satan come from?
Now people would say,
you always say in your videos or your documentaries that you make on your YouTube channel, you always say "Hail Satan."
Right. Indeed.
But you also claim that you don't worship Satan.
I don't have a religion. I'm way too lazy for that.
I don't think you're lazy, man.
No. I don't have. No, I'm not promoting a religion, and that's something I tell everybody. I tell everybody, I don't want you to buy my books. I don't have any reason to condescend. I don't have anything to set up here and hold up and say you should buy this. No, what is out there is a lot of Greek texts, and I'm a classicist, and my job is to protect those texts and to get you the integrity of what's in them. And what you have read from the Bible, that you have read in English, is a mistranslation. It's the best hack job. At worst, it's a purposeful obfuscation of the actual history. And when you start looking at Jesus, who's screaming, when he's getting arrested, that he's not one of these lay stays. Yeah. Then he's, you see the real. All of a sudden, the real becomes obvious. And that's what I think is the job of a classical philologist, to preserve these texts and get them to you. So what does Hail Satan mean to you? It's the gadfly. What's the gadfly again? It's the punch in somebody's face. It's the oestrus that you need. There's a reason you get beaten with whips. It does something. Yeah, it does something, not in a Desaad kind of way. It shocks you? Yeah, it brings you, I don't know, it does something chemically to you. Right? It causes you to release something in your blood. You ever get the thirst for the blood? Do you know what it's like to eat. Do you think, first of all, do you think it's possible that you could give an address where they do this? But they eat, they take that freckled redhead kid, and then we have text for this, by the way. It's called the De Ortu Walawani. And you take this red-haired freckled kid and you pump him full of drugs and you roast him slowly, raising his body temperature, and you bleed him as his body temperature rises. And that blood is communion blood. That's what you get the taste for. Now, why he has to be red-haired and freckled? I mean, not freckled, red-haired and pimpled. He's got to have pimples, which makes you think, well, you got to use a teenage kid for this or something. Something about the pimples. You know it has to do with hormones, because it's right at that time that whatever's going on in his body is producing those pimples. But that's
Where does this come from?
the De Ortu Walawani. It's a recipe
Cheers,
for
Jeffrey.
Medea's communion.
Thank you very much for joining us again.
Arthurian
Have a
tale,
great day. Au revoir.
which is terrible. It's
Everyone.
terribly written. It's Latin, 12th century Latin. It's awful. It's awful. It's like torture to read it. But
But what sort of Greek sources does it come from?
we don't know.
Oh, you don't know.
No, nobody knows.
Is this what comes from?
Lastly,
So what does this all mean? Everything you've learned, everything we've talked about today, all the drug use and all this cult rituals in the ancient world. What are the?
it's an Irish accent, by the way.
What would be the implications on the modern world today if we were to be enlightened by this information?
Yeah, it means our religious background is
Usually, Satanists love their own voices. I found that out.
rooted in a guy that we venerate. And that guy was somebody who used children's. He was involved with drugs. It's a mystery that was nothing like going to church today. At least I don't think it is. Maybe somebody's other, but I don't think it's like that anymore. And the fact is, we have built a society based on a lie, on a complete lie. And it's such a hypocritical lie because the very guy that you venerate, I mean, dude, he was arrested in a public park with a kid. Danny, if you and I got arrested in a public park with 12 kids, what do you think we would be? We sure as hell wouldn't be right.
Are you the only one that said? Are you the only one that's translating this stuff this way?
No,
there's other people.
No, I'm just the first one to have guts to do it.
Are there other classicists or linguists who have translated these same texts you are and corroborating what you're saying?
Yeah, Dr. Ruck, for example, and that's why I always throw him out as my corroborator. Dr. Ruck will tell you, because he and I translated Apocalypse together, and I showed him my breakdown outline of it.
Anyway, you all know what apocalypse means. It means revelation, judgment day, kafefe also. This guy's name is Eamon Heilman. He's definitely Irish with that accent and that first name. I'm sure he has a channel too. Of course, a Satanist would say that Jesus used children as drugs, and it's his translation of the Greek. It's bra, or is it bro? Oh no, get to know. The guy sounds like he likes his own, talks too much shit, even he believes it's his mission. If I got arrested with Jesus, we all ain't talking. He's my bro. Bless you and Jesus too. And all the little children around the world, may they all be safe, happy, and healthy, and may they be protected. May they receive protection from these horrible, horrible, horrible people that just take what they're not allowed to have. But there's a reason why they take it, and that's why he's saying this. There's a reason why they take it. These elites, they use the blood, cooked, made purple, and they cover their face, and they get high on the blood of adrenaline children. Let's say hi and bye like this. Yes, 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 NBS. I say au revoir. This is how that guy said it. He would say it in Blues Cruise. Blues Clues. Blues Clues Cruise. Look it up. Google it. Blues Clues Cruise. And this is like it. Bah. 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 And they'd have a cartoon in the middle of it. You know, like in the old days, there was it Married with Children that introduced us to the Bart Simpsons, the Simpsons. No, it was that comedian, that British comedian. She was brilliant. in America. And she was the first one to launch The Simpsons, just a 5-minute clip, 5 minute section of a half-an-hour show. Susan Gilman, no, what was her name? I can't remember. Even if it was true, the church would never allow it. What do you know about? But Dot, you weren't here from the beginning. What's the beginning of the show? I read it all out. The Lavender Mafia. Do you know how many children are missing in the United States of America? 900,000 children, underage children are missing. What do you know about the spear line? The spear? Well, the spear represents the dick. I don't know what you mean, the spear. You mean Max Spears? That's who Peter Pope sounds like, Max Spears. What was I going to look up? I was going to look up which TV show introduced the world to The Simpsons. Which chameleon TV show introduced the world? I think it was HBO. To The Simpsons. Have you seen all the Simpsons predictions for next year? It's very, very scary indeed. It is. The spear that poked Jesus. Well, maybe that was how they poisoned him. I don't know. The official trailer. I'll put. Oh, man. Let's put it in Google, not YouTube. Search. Oh, I've got such tinnitus. My ears are ringing. Ringing, I tell you, ringing. Virginio's accusations. And that's why Benedictine, the 16th, resigned. And the Pope, present Pope, released him. The Tracy Ullman Show. Nancy Cartwright. No, the Tracy, is that her real name? The Romans cut Jesus aside. Yes, the spike. Yes, I know. But that's not what, you go watch that show. I don't think, you see, that's what he's telling us, that, look at his hair. The translations is what is from the Latin. That's where these translations are from. They're from the Latin. They're not from the Greek. And what he's saying is the Greek was the original and the Latin was very poorly translated into Latin. They didn't equate what the Latin is. That battery is flat. And I thank you. You see, down by the park, you've seen the video with the stones at the park. Well, it's on mirror. I'm not going to take. You saw it the other way. So on the back, so on the front, I'm going to write. I'm going to write. Turn me over, and on the back, it's going to say thank you. And see, I'm waiting for it to dry. Okay. I thank you very much for watching. I thank you very much for joining me. Life does get tougher, but we get smarter together. And I thank you for your subscribes and your shares, because I know you really care if you really want to share this. I don't think I made any money on this, but I wasn't asking to make any money. I hope if I don't see you, no, please. I want them to be pissed off. It's like, how dare you just speak to me like that without a please? Well, there. I'm back live. I went out. I'm live again. How did that happen? Oh, you're only allowed to go live for such a short time. Bye-bye. 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 Bye.